I apologize for the wetness of my hair. I just took a shower. This show is not that good. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Star Wars Retrospective. In today's video, we are going to talk about The Mandalorian 2.5. I mean, the Book of Boba Fett. The Star Wars franchise has been a cultural phenomenon for over 4 decades, with a dedicated fan base and numerous spin-offs and adaptations. The latest edition is the Book of Boba Fett. Wait, no, Andor's latest edition, but before that was the Book of Boba Fett. A TV show that premiered on Disney in late 2021. However, despite high expectations and anticipation from fans, the show has failed to live up to those expectations, and many have criticized it for being not very good. So in this video, I'm going to explore the reasons for why the Book of Boba Fett has failed to impress audiences. Firstly, one of the main issues with the show is its lack of a compelling storyline. With the premise of the show following the titular character as he takes over the criminal underworld of Tatooine has potential, the execution has fallen short. The show's narrative feels disjointed, with scenes and plot points that don't seem to connect or serve a purpose. The pacing is also slow, with this show's 6-episode run feeling like it could have been condensed into a shorter season. The lack of a clear direction for the story has left a lot of people feeling underwhelmed and disengaged. Secondly, the characters in the Book of Boba Fett have been criticized for being underdeveloped and uninteresting. This is especially true for the show's main character, Boba Fett, who has been a fan favorite for years. In this show, however, Boba Fett comes off as dull and lacking in personality, with a few memorable moments or lines. The show also introduces new characters such as Fennec Shand and various members of Boba's criminal crew, but they suffer from a lack of depth and development. As a result, it's difficult for the audiences to invest in the characters and care about their fates. Thirdly, the action sequences in the Book of Boba Fett have also been criticized for their lackluster and poorly choreographed bits. Many fans of the franchise have come to expect the high-quality action scenes that this series got popular for, with exciting battles and duels that showcase character skills and abilities, but that's not in this show. They're uninspired and repetitive, with not that many standout moments. The show's reliance on CGI and special effects also detracts from the realism and intensity of the action, making it feel more like a video game than a cinematic experience. Finally, the Book of Boba Fett has been criticized for being too reliant on nostalgia and references to previous Star Wars content. While fans of the franchise may enjoy the callbacks and Easter eggs, for others it feels like the show is relying too heavily on nostalgia rather than creating something new and exciting. The inclusion of characters and locations from the original trilogy and other spin-offs can be confusing for viewers who are not familiar with the wider Star Wars universe. While the Book of Boba Fett had the potential to be a thrilling addition to the Star Wars franchise, it ultimately failed to live up to expectations. The lack of a compelling storyline, underdeveloped characters, lackluster action scenes, and heavy reliance on nostalgia contribute to the show's shortcomings. While some fans may still enjoy the show for what it is, it's clear that the Book of Boba Fett is not very good and has not been well received by many viewers. Hopefully, future Star Wars content will learn from this and strive to create more engaging and memorable experiences for the audiences, like Andor. The Book of Boba Fett has been a topic of discussion among fans since its release. One of the most common criticisms is that it's less about Boba Fett and more about the Mandalorian. This led to a sense of disappointment among viewers who were expecting a show focused solely on Boba Fett and his journey. The Book of Boba Fett kind of feels more like a spin-off of The Mandalorian, and that drags down my expectations for the show. Firstly, it's important to note that The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett share a connection through their shared creator, Jon Favreau. Favreau is credited as the director and the showrunner of both shows, and they take place in the same timeline and universe. However, The Mandalorian focuses on the titular character's journey. The Book of Boba Fett was marketed as a standalone series centered around Boba Fett. This led fans to believe that the show would explore Boba Fett's character and backstory in depth, rather than one that would feel like a continuation of the Mandalorian story. Secondly, the Book of Boba Fett features many of the elements that the Mandalorian made so successful. Both shows take place in the same timeline and feature a similar blend of action, adventure, and humor. The Book of Boba Fett also features returning characters from The Mandalorian, such as Fennec Shand, who plays a prominent role in the show. Additionally, the Book of Boba Fett shares the same focus on world building and expanding the Star Wars universe, which was a hallmark of The Mandalorian. While these elements are not inherently bad, they contribute to the feeling that the Book of Boba Fett is more of a spin-off or a continuation of The Mandalorian, rather than a standalone show focused solely on Boba Fett. Thirdly, the marketing of the Book of Boba Fett contributed to the expectations and disappointment surrounding the show. The show's trailers and promotional materials heavily featured Boba Fett, leading fans to believe that the show would be focused on his character. However, as the show progressed, it became clear that other characters and storylines were taking center stage. It also is weird because the show requires you to watch both seasons of The Mandalorian to see it, and Season 3 of The Mandalorian requires you to watch the Book of Boba Fett. It's a twisted marketing strategy, to be quite honest. This left a lot of people feeling misled and disappointed, as they had been expecting a show that would delve deeply into Boba Fett's character and story. Finally, the fact that the Book of Boba Fett is tied so closely to The Mandalorian may have contributed to its shortcomings. The Mandalorian was widely praised for its fresh take on the Star Wars universe, and it set a high bar for future Star Wars content. However, the Book of Boba Fett, so closely to The Mandalorian, the show may have been held back by the expectations and comparisons that come with being part of a successful franchise. This may have made it difficult for the show to stand on its own and carve its own identity, leading a feeling of disappointment. The Book of Boba Fett's connection to The Mandalorian had a significant impact on the expectations surrounding the show. While both shows share a creator and take place in the same universe, the Book of Boba Fett was marketed as a standalone series focused on Boba Fett. However, the show's reliance on the elements from The Mandalorian, the marketing that may have emphasized Boba Fett's role, and the ties to the successful franchise is kind of disappointing. While some viewers may still enjoy the Book of Boba Fett for what it is, it's clear that the show's connection to The Mandalorian has had a significant impact on the expectations surrounding it. Well, I guess I should mention some things really quick before I start, wrapping up some parts of this video. I just wanted to mention some bits that I did actually enjoy about the show. I really liked some of the stuff with the raiders and stuff. I loved the train heist. And again, it is cool to see like the Mandalorian in the show. I mean, the Mandalorian has the best fight scene in the entire show, but it's not the Mandalorian show, which makes it an issue. But yeah, I guess that's it. I didn't really want to talk about the show too much because I feel like a lot had to be I didn't feel like a lot had to be said. I didn't really like it, and it had a lot of wasted potential. 5.5 out of 10, because the show is still pretty fun sometimes. If today's episode felt short or rushed, that wasn't purposeful, but you have to understand I'm pretty much working on a video every day when I come home. As an 8th grader as a former 8th grader in New York City, I'm going to high school in a couple months, which means I have to take a thing called the Regents. And while I was working on the script, that was another thing weighing down on me a lot. I'm still working on the script up to this day. I'm practically writing the whole script per day. So it was a big thing, and if I have to retake some of these classes when I'm in high school, it gives me less room to earn college credit when I get there. All this being said, I have a lot on my plate, but the retrospective will be finishing up soon. And just like school, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.